What survival movie are you watching to help you get through the quarantine?
Contagion.
Cadet Kelly.
I Am Legend.
What is happening?
Man, I was very excited to do this podcast. That answer just went so many different directions. No, let's not get into that. Well, let's get into it.
Why did you say Cadet Kelly? That's not a survival movie.
So I'm not really good at rewatching movies I've already watched, but if there is going to be one movie that I'm going to watch, it's going to be Cadet Kelly, and I will learn survival techniques.
Of like army survival techniques, not like
Not even
disease.
army.
Yeah.
Hillary Duff trying army techniques.
What does she do? Like
Lizzie
And
McGuire.
there's nobody else
push-ups?
that I would want to see do that than her. Like,
Are there
teach me, Hillary.
Are there any like girly zombie movies that? No.
Oh,
right?
there's the one that the zombies fall in love.
Oh yeah, the zombie falls in love.
Should I have said like Ocean's 8 or like Charlie's Angel or something?
I don't think you understand the question.
That's even worse.
I don't think you understand. Like, wait, I've never seen Contagion. What's that?
I've actually never seen it either. But I heard it's like the perfect movie to watch when it comes to diseases.
Like
Wow.
Zombieland.
Oh, Zombieland for like zombies, but I wouldn't say like for disease.
Not for. It was just like a generic. I'm not talking about. I mean, I know
Yo,
we're
I Am
thinking about
Legend?
Corona right now, but
I Am Legend, that's a good one. But that's like so sad. Like,
yeah, but like if I feel like it's like the best movie to watch right now because it's just like everyone feels like that's what's going on.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
these people that are all getting infected and they're all coming after you and you got to survive and quarantine yourself and like make a whole like hoard a bunch of things to try to stay sane or whatever. But something funny
So
that
like, would
happened
the
was
only one be The Walking Dead? Sorry, go ahead.
okay, that is, I guess, acceptable. I've never seen
Yeah.
it. But something funny that happened was there's this girl I know who's like obsessed with her dog or whatever. And where she lives, like the corona is like, it's going up and up in like numbers for how many people have it. And I was like, so have you ever seen I Am Legend? And then she right away goes, I'm not killing my dog. Because you know that scene where Will Smith is like has to kill the dog because he's like infected.
yeah.
Did you ask her that question to ask her if she would kill her dog?
Yeah.
All right,
What
guys.
are you?
Thank you for tuning in to an episode of Strange Flavors. My name is Shimmer,
For us.
And my name is Amber.
and we are coming to you in a weird format.
Quarantine edition.
Quarantine
Self-
edition.
Self-isolated version.
I hope this is good quality, but
What do they call it? Social isolation?
a social something. Social. I forget.
Right. Word.
Social, I don't know. But yeah, this is brought to you by Alif Theory. You can find us on all social media at Strange Flavors, at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're also on YouTube at Strange Flavors, and you can listen to us everywhere on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, and everywhere else.
You can see our setup on YouTube, actually.
Yeah, you can see it on YouTube.
This was
a
both
weird
a
setup.
thing that we did for the irony purpose of everybody doing everything virtually, but also because you both actually, little known fact, have corona. And so we have not met for a week or two now
while.
because actually Shami
Well,
and Amber
Amber's even
both,
more.
I haven't seen you guys in like 3 weeks.
A month.
they both were like saying that they were sick, and I was like, we're not taking any chances because over here
Hold
over
on.
here is a safe zone. Okay?
Let me explain what happened. So we were about to meet up like a week ago or something, and then
On
Frost goes-
Monday.
Frost goes, yo, tomorrow, right? And then I was like, yo, guys, I'm feeling a little under the weather. I don't know. I'll let you guys know tomorrow. And then Amber goes, stop being a little bitch. And then she's like, just kidding. Take your vitamin C. I didn't say a thing, I had so much to say in my mind, but I was like, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. Right? Guess what happens?
And he
Later
did
that night.
black magic. That's what happened. He did
Later
black
that night.
magic.
Later that night, she goes, Shami, I'm so sorry. I'm feeling sick. And I'm like, yes, let's go.
Karma.
When I tell you
What's
that
good?
We're
randomly
cowards.
out the blue, I was like, my throat's feeling kind of sore. Like, this is like, and then I was like, why is my body all like achy? I was like, this is too much. So immediately I'm like, listen, if karma is real, I'm trying to be good with it. So like, Shami, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that to you. Whatever black magic you did, please erase it. And when I tell you, I woke up the next morning with every inch of my body aching, and I went straight to the urgent care. I had strep and the flu. I had both at the same time. And when I tell you that, like, I have never felt more sick.
Shamir was probably so happy.
I was
That's
so
what
happy.
What a situation.
I'm so happy.
Like,
But-
what a
But
situation.
I was happy for the fact that like someone else was sick with me too. Like the
You
fact.
can't- don't no, Shami, Shami, I would get it, except for the fact that I was like, hey, how you doing? No response. Like, you didn't even want to be sick with me. You just wanted to be sick in your own corner and nothing to do with me.
No, like there's people change once an outbreak like this happens. Like the other day, all of our friends were hanging out, and we specifically excluded Shamir and our friend Usman, who we call Ozzy, because they were both sick, and we were like, listen, we're not taking any chances. This is healthy boys only. Like, I think everybody is like does not trust one another. We're all like, hoarding a bunch of things and whatever. But let me ask you, are you guys tripping out over Corona?
What do you mean?
Like, are you as scared as like everyone is kind of, like I'm talking about the people that are actually, social distancing. That's what the word was.
Yeah.
As much are you like staying home, away from everything, holding on to a bunch of like groceries and whatnot?
To an extent, yes, absolutely. Like, only, like, I'm not really leaving the house unless I'm going to the gym, which is probably not a lot of logic.
That's like the
there
worst
because-
place.
I know, there's not a lot. I didn't say it was logical. I just said I was doing it to an extent. And the other thing is that I'm worried about it for, like, in the bigger sense, like, people who won't be able to fight it off. Like, I'm worried for them.
I wonder
More
if
so
you
than
guys
for
since you already had the flu, if you can get it still.
So this is like, I've had a lot of questions running through my mind this whole week, and I've been doing a lot of Googling to try to figure anything out, because I don't
I've been
understand
doing a lot of
germs.
Googling.
Yeah, like, I don't understand germs. Like, how do germs work? Like, I really don't get it. Like, I get it that they're everywhere. I'm literally not, like, I put on a bag to pump up the gas the other day. Like, I'm confused about what I need to avoid. Like, if I'm already sick, would the coronavirus just make me, like, have strep throat, flu, and the coronavirus?
Well, it's
like,
not gonna
am I
go in through
really-
your hands. If you touch the pump, it's not gonna go in through your hands. Like if you
I know,
put
but
your
if I
hands near
touch
your
my
face, yeah.
Exactly. And I luckily bought like hand wipes. I'm like confused as to like how the germs are going. I've been taking 2 showers a day if I leave the house.
What about
No,
you, Shimmer? Are you tripping out?
For me at first, I wasn't tripping out at all. And then once I got the cold, couple days in, it started getting really bad. So I don't actually have the flu. I have a cold. So
So did you think, was the first thought you had like, do I have corona?
Yeah, I was legit. Because like the 4th day in, I've never been this badly sick in my life and for this long. And I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
this is something new. Like I have something, right? And so then I go to the doctor's office like 4 days in. I've been quarantined like for the past week, like myself. And so I go to the doctor the 4th day in, and she's like, oh, you just have a cold. She didn't prescribe me any medication. She was like,
Oh, wow.
it'll just go away in like a couple days. And so she was actually right. Like I didn't have to really take anything, and it just go away. But then, so the first day I went outside with like some friends. First day I went outside yesterday with some friends, and I was strapped with everything. Like I had hand sanitizer, 4 different ones. I was spraying everyone with hand sanitizer. People were like, yo, what's up with the handshakes? I was like, nah, buddy. Like
Yeah,
elbows for me.
it's elbow to elbow. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
People were trying to hug me. I'm like, sorry, dog. Here, elbow. Like, nah, I'm not touching anyone. And then I was driving my friend's car, and I sanitized his steering wheel and like all the doors. I was like, I'm not taking any chances, because if I got this sick that bad, coronavirus might be so much worse. So
It's supposed to be like
my
worse.
whole immune system. So,
It's
Frost,
supposed to
what
be
about
worse.
you?
I'm not tripping out.
Uh-huh.
All these things that people are now doing, I've been on that. Listen,
That's true.
I
That is true.
I
That is
have
true.
forever been washing my hands after everything, before anything. Before I touch my food, I don't care if I'm eating with a spoon and fork, whatever, it doesn't matter. I wash my hands on a regular because it's just like you touch so many things, including your phone, which like already has like a ton of bacteria on it and stuff.
Mm.
And then on top of that, like the quarantining thing, like I'm not hanging out with people like that in the first place. I don't like going out. I don't like being in big crowds. I live in like a place where we're pretty safe over here. Like there's only been one case in my county, but other than like if you're not really mixing with people like that, you're not really gonna get it. So I don't know how it's gonna work. The only way is like if like my dad works in the city, like sometimes, you know, my friends and stuff, like they go to school and, you know, work and whatever in the
But
city.
you guys
So
go out to eat and stuff too a few times a week. Like,
yeah, but
you know?
it's such like a ghost town already. Now it's just like you don't even see a single person like anywhere.
So here's the thing about germs is it doesn't have to be a person. They could have
Okay.
left those germs there.
Okay, that's fine, but like still,
And
I'm
they
not like.
stay alive on surfaces.
But even over here though, it's crazy because like all the bread and toilet paper and everything is still gone. Like people are so dumb, they don't know what to do. They don't understand like how to act when anything like this
Well,
happens.
can you
Even
blame
when we
them?
get
Can you blame them?
Yes.
Because we've like
Yes.
as far as I've been alive, I've never witnessed a situation like this. I've never witnessed like we've never had a global pandemic. Like, you know? So how do people react? This is the first
No,
time
but-
for most people.
No, it's more extreme, but like we've had things like
Swine flu.
SARS, swine flu, Ebola.
But Ebola wasn't airborne, and a lot of these weren't like easily passed on one to one. Like you would have to have like liquid to liquid contact. Like you'd have to kiss someone with Ebola.
No, there's no
to,
doubt
like, get
that
it.
Corona is like it's crazy, right? But I'm saying the way that you react to it is like kind of bizarre when like first
Do
of
you
all
remember that
when
one time when you said that you just don't get sick? Do you remember that time when you were like,
we're
when you were
doing a
like,
podcast.
you're like, I don't get sick. I don't get sick. And then what happened 3 days after you really, really emphasized that?
You got me sick.
I
Yo, let's go to his house right now.
I-
Let's get him. Let's get him.
I wasn't even sick at the time, mind you.
Okay.
You were so sick after you had been so confident. Listen, I'm telling everybody, like, your ego in this really matters. If you feel untouchable, like, watch your ass. Like, I'm just saying.
Okay, on the note of watch your ass, I also recommend wash your ass. You don't need
Absolutely.
toilet paper.
Retweet.
If you're like I saw the Trevor Noah the other day and he was like trying to help people cope with the whole toilet paper thing.
Cool.
There yeah. He was like, listen, when I was growing up, like I also didn't have toilet paper and stuff and we would use newspapers. And I was like, what? He was like he goes
Hold on, how is that a cleaner?
I know, and he goes, listen, even if you don't have toilet paper, you have a bath right next to you. You can shower or whatever. I'm like, you're really gonna do all of that? You're gonna take a whole shower and not just like wash your butt? I'm so confused about that whole thing. So that's why I say like I'm not tripping out because all these things like I have never been aware. And bread, like that's all you guys are eating, bread, like. You have all this other food and that's what like is going empty. It makes no sense because
No, it's not just bread. Everything's empty, fam.
a lot of things are empty, but also like you know, like in our houses we cook a lot and we've had like flour, you know, like atta, like
Yeah.
to make rotis ready for like the past 2 years, a ginormous container. Like we're never gonna run out.
Yeah.
Like if I stayed in my house like and never went out for like I'd be good for a few months probably.
Few months or a month?
Yeah, like survival, I'm saying.
Oh, survival.
Survival. Absolutely. Sure.
Yeah.
I was gonna. Your milk's not gonna last you a month. Your egg's not gonna
Don't
last
need
you a
milk.
month.
Don't need milk.
I know. I understand. If you're saying that like survival, sure. But like We're not just trying to
There's-
survive out here. We're trying to
There's so many things. I want to get some of like the confusion straight. So like, there's a lot of news sources that like they don't even know what's going on. That's what's weird and unique about this epidemic is like people are looking for news for like one of the first times because they usually don't trust anybody, but now they're like, is this the truth? Is this the truth? And the president even lies a lot, so you don't even know if he's like
He
just
called it
got
a hoax
tested.
like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. And then he was like, and then he goes, I was with some doctors and, they were trying to explain it to me and I knew so much. They were surprised that I'm not a doctor. I was like, how do you manage to make this about yourself too? But he just got tested for corona and he says that he doesn't have it, but we don't know if that's true or not. But yeah, what's weird is like, they've turned this into a political thing too. It's like when it comes to passing laws about healthcare and testing and all of that, and then like how we should be travel banning certain places, which like already Europe is on the travel ban, and now they just put UK on there too. It was really hard to get the right information, and so I think again, I always shout out Joe Rogan, but he had like a guy who wrote this book, and a while ago he predicted that this would happen. And there's a few people that have predicted this would happen because of the way that those Chinese wet markets work.
Yeah, Bill Gates also predicted it too.
Right. There's a few people that had said a while ago because they saw what happened with SARS and swine flu and all of that, and a few different diseases that have come out of the wet markets. And what's actually going on is that like those wet markets in China are bringing in
Explain
these,
what a wet
exotic-
market is to people.
That's what I'm doing. So it's like they bring in these like exotic animals that are like kind of not the norm to eat. That you have everything from like alligators, snakes. They even
Bats.
They have bats. And actually what the corona is supposedly coming from is possibly either bats or these things called like pandalos or something. I forget what it's called. It's like an anteater, something like that. But though they carry the virus a lot, but they actually even have bear farms. They are farming bears and like all types of exotic animals, tigers even sometimes. And what happens is that they're alive. They're all in these cages, and the cages are stacked on top of one another. And if one animal even has a virus, right, they're peeing and pooping into the next cage and the next cage and the next cage. And then when people come to the market, they are saying, okay, I want this animal. They like slaughter it, pack it up right there for you, and then take it home. And easily, just by that, you're transferring everything that carried from one human being, from one animal to that worker to that human being who is now eating it, spreading it out, and it just becomes this huge petri dish, pretty much, of just like diseases, right? So that's where it's coming out of, right? Now, people are going around, they're traveling, and somehow Italy got hit really bad, and it wiped out a bunch of people there, but it's not as deadly as people are making it seem to be either. It started out at a very like high risk level, but at the level it's at right now, especially with people living in the US, it has supposedly died down a lot. And which means that like the risk is lower. It is still supposed to be more it's supposed to be worse than like getting a normal flu, but the survival rate is still pretty high.
It sounds like the symptoms are asthma. Like, like you can't breathe, you're having a dry cough, like you're kind of gasping for air in some ways. Like it sounds like just really bad asthma.
Yeah. With the flu, I think it was like a 1.5% mortality rate. And I think with this, it was like 4% or like 5% overall. But it was like 20 or 25% for people above the age of 60. So that's really high.
But it also seems like I mentioned this like on my social media too, but like it's less about like us like healthy individuals. I'm not claiming that I can't get it. I definitely can get it. You can see I'm here with the flu right now. It's the idea of us not worrying about it because of the fact that it can affect healthy individuals, but like it does affect people who are older, who have diabetes and who have chronic health issues. And my father is two of those things, old and diabetic. And it's like, for me to say that I'm not worried about it because it can affect me is like very selfish, because I'm like, quite easily my father could get it and he's in the highest of high risk level. So it's like, yeah, we shouldn't worry about it, but the people that I'm closest to and love the most are in those at-risk groups.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw you making like a PSA about this before, because it's easy to get caught up in like all the memes and stuff, but when you do have people that are older and stuff that you care about, it can be scary, because I know that kids, they're carrying the virus, but they're not, a lot of them aren't getting it.
Yeah, and they're just carriers, especially kids ages 3 to 19.
But that's even scarier, because one of the good things that they did was, cancel all the schools and everything like that, because the kids are playing, they're the quickest people to spread out certain things like this.
Yeah.
And so they bring it home, and the cycle goes on from there.
Grandparents that live at home, there's elderly, there's people who have health issues already. Like, they are the carriers. And even, to be honest, like, even people our age and a little bit older who are healthy, like people who are like healthier people fighting it off, like we aren't being infected by it, but we are carriers. So we have to be mindful of it.
Let me plug this in real quick.
Yeah, it's crazy. So those cheap flights, though.
I mean, that's flight, though. There's like this mask that they're selling on Amazon for like $1,500, and it's like a full face mask, and it connects to like a gas tank, and apparently you can travel with it. You just have to take it off to like do the TSA check. But you can buy that for $1,500 and then really make the most out of the rest of those flights.
I mean, would you guys feel safe traveling right now? Have you seen the planes? Literally everybody has masks on.
Okay.
Even so, I traveled 2 weeks back, and there was still a good amount of people. Like, so when I flew in on the 27th, 28th of February, so it's been like almost two weeks now, almost 3 weeks. And when I tell you that we stopped at Walmart just to get hand sanitizer, this is weeks ago. Mind you, there's not that many cases in the U.S. There was not any disinfecting hand wipes. There wasn't hand sanitizer. There wasn't any of this, like when casually here there was, because there's a lot of tourists there. And so I went to go find face masks. I called every pharmacy in the area, and there wasn't any. However, there were people in the airport at that time. I would say maybe like 20% of the people were wearing face masks. And I feel like if others had access to them, they would definitely be wearing them. There just was no access. On the island, it had been sold out for like 3-4 weeks at that point.
Yeah. I think the other thing is that, it's people are kind of like, we were talking about the ego thing earlier jokingly, but there are a lot of people that feel like, oh, it's not going to get me, and like I'm going to take advantage of this time, and let's travel and whatever. And a lot of people are saying that like that's kind of a selfish thing to do, because what you're doing is possibly, you're possibly carrying it for a few days, not knowing that you have it, and going around and spreading it to other people. And like one of the basketball players on the Utah Jazz, he like was joking around, and he was touching everything, like on the mics and everything like that, because of the coronavirus, and he actually had it. And he ended up infecting other people. And
no way.
Yeah. And like it came out afterwards, once the doctors checked him out and everything, that he did have it. He issued an apology and everything. And what he ended up doing was he donated like $500,000 to all the people that work for the organization, for like the Jazz or whatever, because those people will be out of jobs for a while because the NBA got canceled. For the rest of the season. So it was like a bad mistake that he made, but also like a really sort of commendable thing that he did afterwards to admit his fault. And like $500,000, that's no joke. Like, I don't know how many owners of the teams are doing that. There's a lot of players that are donating money, but owners are not.
Yeah. We
just have to like also be mindful of, again, the untouchable personality. Like, we are humans, and again, I'm like, we are constantly reminded again and again that like we are just humans on this earth. Like, we are not untouchable, and anything can get to us if it needs to. Like, It's just the whole ego of it all. I just wish would stop.
Yeah. Also, like,
I constantly get that energy on social media.
you buy these tickets for like $60 for Puerto Rico, right? And you go there. There's not gonna be anyone there. Like, everyone's gonna be like
Everything's
inside.
shut.
Like,
Everything's closed.
like, what are you gonna do? Just sightsee maybe
Tourist
for a little bit?
things.
Like,
I think it's got. Well, I mean, I'm gonna argue that would be even better if nobody's there. You have the beaches to yourself. But I think the corona has gotten to the islands now. There's a lot of Europeans that were traveling there, and I think it's actually on the islands now. So it's now become a danger island, and you have to try to run away and escape. I mean, you never know. But what else has been canceled? There's like Coachella.
Wild and Out was supposed to be in Baltimore, and that got canceled on
Amber.
Thursday.
Amber. Like the
Wild
biggest
and Out.
sports.
That's
like
the biggest
get
thing.
Wild and Out.
Wild and Out.
That's what I'm worried about.
Listen, I was
That's
personally
great.
affected.
I'm
Wild
really
and Out.
upset because we were supposed to have a show like for the first time this year. It was going to be like an awesome show. I'm not going to say where since it might happen in the future. But it was something that we were really looking forward to, and even that's canceled. I'm a little bit worried because there's a few weddings that I have to attend, and
Oof.
I don't know if that's going to be risky.
Ooh.
And you know, especially with like our style of weddings, they're not about to cancel those. There is so much money and time that goes into all days of planning and all that. I don't think that those are about to get
So when
canceled.
they say that congregations of 200 people or more, isn't a wedding a congregation of 200 people or more? Is that not dictated by law?
My
to,
mom
like,
was
not
tell-
happen?
My mom was telling me that there was a event, like wedding event, and they were having 500 people expected, and the owner of the hotel said you could only max have 200.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, interesting. They're actually doing that in Pakistan as well. Like my cousins were telling me that all the wedding venues, even if the people want to have the wedding still, they're saying that you're not allowed to have that many people. So they're having to like cancel or like rebook stuff. It's
so
just
sad.
we've never seen a time like this. I think this is a very historical time that we're living in, where we're gonna tell our kids one day, like, hey, there was this time where all the schools were out and people were working from home. Like, this feels like the future. Like,
Yeah.
what's that movie? Ready Player One. You know how like they don't interact with each other physically at all? They're just like all through the video game.
Online, yeah.
It's like that's what this feels like. Like even right now we're having a podcast digitally because we can't like sit next to each
Yeah.
other or whatever. But
I feel
it's
so
such an
bad.
interesting time.
I feel so bad for like the kids that were gonna graduate because they can't go to their graduation. Like,
They're so sad. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to laugh.
what?
Yeah, there's a lot of like
I can't even imagine a digital graduation. Like, what do you do for that?
Your avatar is going.
No, you're about to get handed your diploma and then your connection like goes out. Like what happens?
Oh, Lord.
Like I think that we are extreme. Like we're people like us. We're taking a lot for granted and like we're trying to talk about, but we have no idea the inconvenience that it's caused for people, especially on the other side of the world. Like I cannot imagine what people in Wuhan are going through. Where it started, like they are literally screaming from their apartment buildings like across one another and trying to like provide moral support. Like they're saying like stay strong Wuhan, and that must be like, I don't know how long it's going to take for them to like recover from all of this. The economy is like going crazy. The stock market
down.
is so
I mean, I think like in America, I guess we're like blessed. We can do stuff through the internet.
privileged.
They're so privileged. Like other places, they can't. They still need physical labor, and they can't do physical labor jobs anymore because, this virus. So
That's the other thing I was gonna flex about real quick was the boy been doing remote jobs. like people are people are trying to teach each other on Twitter and stuff like how to like do stuff remotely and like work freelance and all that. I was like I've been prepared. I'm telling you, I've been prepared for a time like this. All right. I'm done. No more.
Stop
privilege
flexing.
flex.
Karma.
Privilege
Stop
flex.
flexing.
Privilege flex. I'm done with the karma stuff. Okay, but we were talking about islands. Amber, you just came back from Love Island, Hawaii. How was that?
Love Island, Hawaii.
Love Island, Hawaii.
So basically,
That's what it was, right?
No, it was Maui. Well, I don't get the joke that's being made here. Can you explain?
Like
Why is
Love
like an
Island,
island of
The
love?
Bachelor, Bachelorette.
I don't know. I don't watch that. I have watched Love Is Blind.
You watch everything that's toxic except for Bachelor and Bachelorette.
I just don't watch TV. I'm doing a podcast.
You watch Wild and Out.
And so then, yeah. Sorry. My dad was at the door.
No, you didn't answer. You said you watched
what was
Wild
the-
and Out.
I do watch Wild and Out, but I don't watch the show. I watch it like in clips, like on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So I went to Maui for about a week and some days for a retreat. It was really cool. It was like this. It was organized by this company called Train Like a Gymnast, and it was basically a bunch of people who care about their health and fitness to come together, work on their mental, emotional, and physical health. And so we kind of, got together and really talked about how to practice gratitude in our daily lives and how that like helps us, and also how to like capitalize on our talents, identifying our talents.
So it sounds like it's more like a mental retreat than a physical one.
It was very much both. So we had a huge, so every single day, it was very interesting. Like every single day, we were all in this big house together, and it was like a very non-toxic like reality show house, basically. Like it was like people who got along together great in this one big, really nice house. We were all like,
and then right after that, she goes on Twitter and tries to sign up for that YouTube house.
Yeah,
what's it called?
The toxic reality house.
Reality house. She goes, it's non-toxic, but then signs up for that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just saying. And so,
Amber, you were portraying some very toxic energy though. Like I saw some of the snaps.
I really wasn't.
Did you hear what I said on the podcast?
Okay, so here's the problem that I have with you personally, human to human. Okay, is that
virus to human. Excuse me.
Virus to human.
Is that on the podcast you're like, Amber's acting, I mean, she's being herself, but like we're not there to humble her.
But like extra yourself.
No, like me.
Like you were doing like the clapping stuff and like
right.
The clapping stuff.
Like
absolutely.
And you were like, you don't need him. Like men are trash, toxic. Like that was your energy.
That was part of my energy, and sometimes.
Like if I were to guess through your snaps, I wouldn't have guessed that there was some mindful, grateful,
right.
going
For
on.
sure. I can see the hypocrisy in that, sure. However, it was like in the appropriate times. When I was being toxic, it was during our free times, and it was more okay. But really, it was like we'd get up, eat breakfast, go on a hike, do like some sort of like team activity together, come back, have a workshop, then we'd have like eat, free time, then we do like practicing handstands, we practice backflips, we did like animal movement. So it was like a super like healthy place
so you went from making animal sounds to doing animal movements.
Animalistic, yeah. Like
that sounds really cool though. Like what's the best thing that you think you got out of that, like out of all the things that you did or talked about?
I think I just like learned a lot when it came to like, I mean, you learn a lot about yourself in these, but you also learn a lot about others, and you learn to really forgive people for like, just like who, like not, this sounds a little bit weird, but like accept people for who they are, because you really realize that some people have certain things that I might consider a flaw, others might not, but they genuinely aren't aware of it, and then there are very polite ways to make them aware of it, and if they're willing to change it, it can be a really beautiful thing. And like I witnessed that a lot in this trip, and I really came to gain a lot of appreciation for people around me. And our like range of people, though it did seem like it was all white people, was like really amazing. I was the only person from Maryland on this trip. We had 2 people from LA, somebody from Oklahoma, somebody from Tennessee, and it was just like a really big mix of people. And I think one of the coolest thing was we had this like 55-year-old mom on the trip who's like battled cancer 4 times. And like it's when I tell you that like we can be talking about some of the most shallow things when it comes to like, okay, somebody was like talking about like, okay, one of the things that I shared in there was like, okay, what are some things that you think about yourself on a daily basis? And my top number 1 thing was you are fat. I was like, every single day I feel that on a daily basis. And then I turn around and I see that there's this mom who is genuinely battling life itself. And so it kind of really makes you realize like what your demons are and what other people's demons are, and really kind of humbles you in a way that like my problems are my problems and I can, work on them, but they aren't the end of the world. And there's a lot of things and a lot of like your problems really aren't that big, even though they are valid, that, you have a lot of perspective in a group like this. Like somebody who's battled cancer 4 times really isn't worried about how much weight is on her. She's just worried about being healthy. Like it was just like a lot of humbling moments. And
I think that's the main word that you used was like perspective.
Absolutely.
Like, you gained a lot of perspective. Do you think you could live in Hawaii forever?
Bruh. I think that there's, okay, I would say 70% of me wants to say yes, and then 30% of me wants to say no, because 70% is like, it was very nice. Like, holy crap.
I'm asking that, like the things that you're describing, all that, it's just like, you are at this place, which is naturally going to make you just like happier and fulfilled. And like, you're all on this adventure and like, you're trying something new and whatnot. But like, when you come back to reality, you're not on this island. You're not with those people who are trying to be that. You're around a lot of people that like don't think that way or aren't like even trying to think that way. They're just trying to live on. So
absolutely.
Like,
so
how do you balance like the reality versus this what this trip offers?
So, I mean, I'm not going to lie, like, I really did have to do my gratitude practices as soon as I came back, because it really hit me hard when I came back. Like, I was not feeling very gracious and, like, really feeling that, okay, I'm so happy, because I was in a place that was like, it was literally 22 degrees the day that I came back. And it was just like, it was just a lot happening. I think that in a place like that, I think you can stay euphoric. It's the energy of it just seems like the people who were living there just seemed like they were trying to just make it. And that's what I couldn't get with. Like everybody was just trying to make it. Like everybody either had a service job, like either they were a bartender, or they were working in tourism for other people. And it was just like either an electrician and when I asked the locals, they said the only way that you can really make money on this island is if you're like a doctor or something. So it's like, I mean, wow. I can see that like there wasn't a lot of like opportunities in like regular jobs there, but like perhaps say I was getting paid as a content creator and my money wasn't coming in from the island itself, but like through a digital way, I think that would be a lot more manageable. Now, here's the other thing is that I did realize there's a lot of people in my personal life that perhaps did need some of the tools that I gained while I was there. And I felt like there were things that I knew that a lot of people could benefit from. And so I started organizing a workshop with some of the materials that I have. And so I'm going to have some people that I really care about come and do these exercises with me. So that was one way that I could kind of feel like,
well, sure, I didn't get an invite, so clearly you don't care.
It wasn't, the invites have not been sent out yet.
Dang.
So don't worry.
I have one?
Yeah, my friends will have one.
Well,
I'm not coming.
I'm not coming.
Okay, fine. Then don't come. It's fine. I will send you an invite. It's up to you if you choose to come.
I'll take a virtual invite.
Is it going to be like a Cadet Kelly sort of?
No, absolutely not. It'll definitely be like a day of working on ourselves, but also I really like the physical aspect, so I'll have a yoga instructor come. I really liked how we only had healthy foods in that house. That's it. Like there was only healthy foods. We had food stacked with sponsored stuff, like energy shots, focus shots, and just like protein chips and everything.
Cool. I think that like when it comes to these group things like that, when you go on these retreats, you get away from your reality and try to meet new people and like learn about their struggles and all that. Like there's so much benefit in that, but at the same time, everybody has different ways of like coping with different things, and they have a different way of getting that same knowledge. And like not everybody can afford or go like to these types of retreats and all that, and like they don't have that sort of like that mindfulness or that curiosity to even like try it. So I see a lot of people that like, they try to make their own world. like there's people that will try to like stay in that type of environment in general, or just people that are a lot similar to them so that they can avoid those negative things and like, you know, avoid going towards, you know, just like mindsets that they don't agree with. And then there's people that are the opposite that are like, you know what, for example, my kids need to like go through like a difficult or a hard upbringing, and on the way, if they hang on to their faith and their values and this and that, they'll realize you know, what's important to them or whatever. And like the way that I really like it struck for me a lot recently was like my community where I live, as you guys know, very conservative community. The Muslim community had been working on trying to build this mosque for a while now. And finally, they got a piece of land that they're trying to build on and everything. And there was so much backlash from like the surrounding community.
Oh, wow.
And for like a lot of people in the Muslim community, they were just shocked. They were like, what's going on? We grew up here. My parents grew up here. Like, we've been a part of this community. We've been volunteering. We've been like going to churches. We've been playing sports with their kids and this and that. And there's this huge backlash, all these like racist comments online and like just all types of crazy stuff. And there was a hearing that happened, and they were supposed to like decide if they were allowed to use the land or whatever. And since it's next to a neighborhood and like kind of a major subhighway or whatever, if they were gonna allow it. So there was a public hearing where people could come up and speak.
Is this common that they will have a hearing for lands that like if something else was being built and it wasn't a mosque, would this hearing be happening anyway?
Well, that's
like
the thing. Like, it's like there's like 150 plus churches in our county, and the DAC members who are the people that decide, like, you know, what happens with the district and all that. They themselves were like, we've never had anything like this for, you know, a religious or
really.
But at the same time, like, you know, when something like a Walmart or something comes in, there are people in the neighborhood or the surrounding sort of like houses that come and they're like, hey, this is gonna bring too much traffic, so we don't want to have this. But like this is like a religious place we're talking about here. It's not a 24-hour business. There's a Dunkin' Donuts across the street that's still going to have way more business in a day than we're going to have in an entire month. So the traffic issues and all that, like, they really weren't as big of a deal as people were trying to make it seem. But when I was at the hearing, I was expecting to just sort of like hear those types of things. And they were so like unionized in the people that didn't want this to happen. And they were like, there was so much undertone that I heard throughout the whole thing that people were saying all types of things and just not understanding of like who Muslims are in general.
Were they making claims that they didn't want a group of Muslims specifically congregating? Like, what were the statements that they were making?
So they were trying to make it like, hey, you know, we live in this neighborhood and like we don't want them to use our entrance. It's going to be so crowded. This is a highway. Some guy went up and he was like, you know, I got in an accident on this highway. Which, like, okay, like, whose fault
That's
is
your
that?
fault.
Like, yeah. So he's like, it's already crowded. And then there was a family that lives across the street. They were like, we have a special needs kid, and like, you know, there's gonna be this is gonna increase traffic and whatnot. And it was like, okay, I mean, like, I guess that's valid, but at the same time, it's just like.
So was most of were most of like the hate comments that were coming in about Muslims, was that mostly online? Because I see. Yeah. A lot of rude like oh, if you put, because I searched this topic on Facebook and I saw people like, oh yeah, like tell them that it was a pig farm before and they'll never build it there, and those types of things. Yeah,
like there was a lot of that online. There wasn't as much in person at all. There was this one guy that stepped up and he was like, listen, my grandkids are going to be growing up here. I don't want them to start practicing Sharia law, and I heard that there's going to be training camps that they're going to be having. And I was like, I couldn't contain myself, right? Like, our community was so respectful and patient and whatnot, but I loudly, when he said that, I was like, what? And everybody kind of turned around and like laughed a little bit. I was like, hold up. Like, what is even going on? What are you talking about? Like, we should not even entertain this. So eventually, like, I saw all the parents sitting there, and like, I've never seen these people that helped raise out like all the kids, like they saw me since I was like a little kid growing up here, and we all like, they're such amazing people. They're all like doctors and lawyers and engineers and like art directors and like all teachers, all like important members of this community that have helped this community out tremendously and volunteer for the community, not just Muslims, all the time. And I was like, this sucks. Like I felt heartbroken just seeing their faces of just like filled with fear and just confusion of like, why do these people feel this way so hardly towards us? So I was like, I wasn't like prepared to speak or anything, but I couldn't take it. So I like went up there and I just spoke. Like I didn't comment on traffic or anything like that. I just told them like, listen, we are like extremely important, valuable members of this community. And we're not going to like, and just letting our parents and everybody know that like we are abiding by the law. And we are abiding by the Constitution. We are absolutely in the right to do what we're doing. And, you know, luckily
a video that you posted of you having the speech. And I want to say that you were so well spoken. Even I didn't know that it was on a whim. But the fact that you were able to, I think that you were a really good bridge between who they think that Muslims are and who they consider themselves to be, and they see somebody like you who is that very much like a middle person, like, oh, like an average kid, he just happens to look a little different, and like kind of really make it like, okay, like he really is just of a different religion, just trying to practice what he wants to do. And I think that the way that you spoke was very respectful, but also to the point. Like, listen, like I'm here and I respect everybody here and I appreciate everything you do, but I've also been a valuable member of this community, and I think that we've all played a like really big role in it, and I think that we deserve a place for us to get together. So I think you kind of having that speech was like very powerful in so many ways.
Definitely. And I think like when probably like a lot of people were like listening to your speech, maybe they were blocking it out, like, oh, they don't care, something like that. But when you really dropped there's 150 churches in this area, and this is only one place we're talking about, I was like, that should just like
that was
clear everything.
That was a bomb.
Right.
I feel like that really helped it like bind the whole argument together.
Yeah.
that's exactly it though, because I was like, my brother and I were the only younger people there. There was nobody else that like, they're trying to keep their kids at home. And like what I was saying earlier about this whole point is that like the community feels like, oh my God, they hate us. Let's just stick to one another and keep each other safe and like keep our kids at home. But it should be the opposite. We should continue living our lives. We should continue being like vital members of this community and like show people who we really are. And all the parents, like including my own dad, would have amazing things to say, but just that little thing of him having an accent might be that barrier that like they can't get over. And I know that like me having long hair and like looking, I guess, younger or whatever is like, sometimes that's all it takes. And like our like people our age have to be able to step up. And we have to be patient. We have to be more respectful than a lot of people. People started walking out as soon as I started speaking. Not a single person walked out while they were speaking from our community. And it was just like, after I got done saying what I was saying, like there's nothing that they can deny. All of the things I said were just strictly facts of like the things that we have achieved and done. And
even making yourself seem as regular as like, hey, like we went to Towson, we went to John Hopkins, we went to College
that's what
Park.
happened.
Like,
we
are your children.
Yeah, they came up, like some of them came up to me afterwards and they were like, hey, listen, like we weren't trying to, target or anything like that. Like my kids also go to that school or whatever. And it made it so like they realized that they were kind of being silly. And what ended up happening was just like that people didn't really know that this was going on, but the support that like after I posted that video that we received online was way more than any of that backlash. And it was like all people that like can say in writing and that like they can prove that yes, they did do these things, they were there with me when all that they're saying is true. Those like all those kids that we grew up with, all our friends, all our teachers, like they were backing it up, sharing it and stuff. And like it was funny because like that video ended up doing really good. It got like over 20,000 views or something. And my sister was like, man, you need to start dropping Ronopono links on there because it did better. It did better than all of our videos have done so far this year. I was like, dang. But yeah, I mean, like, going back to the original point was just like, when you go to certain places and surround yourself around certain people, like you don't ever like, not you, but like people listening, like don't ever forget that like there's people that will never understand that way because they've never been educated, and they a lot of times they don't know any better, and a lot of times they have been taught differently. And until you like go out and really involve yourself in all the different types of communities and types of people there are, not right now, but after the corona stuff is done, like involve yourself in all those people and try to get perspective and understand why they're saying what they're saying, and then be yourself. Like you were saying, just appreciating who people are for who they are, not being judgmental to that, and understanding that like there's a certain, just like me and you, there's a certain like rule book of ethics and morals and values that they abide by as well, that like you have to like break down. And so yeah, I mean that's all there is to it when it comes to understanding people and perspective, and like I feel like that's the key word, is just perspective.
I think the crazy thing is also like I live in a very diverse area, so like hearing this news is kind of like very shocking to me, especially coming from someone that like I know personally and like a community that I know personally. And so like our mosque is actually like right next to a church, and we've actually built roads so they can easily go to each other, and so they can park like they can park at our mosque and we can park at their church. And so our entrance actually goes through a neighborhood, like, and that was never an issue. Like people are parking out around the neighborhood. Like it may be packed, but it's only packed for like an hour on Friday.
That's what it's supposed to be about too. Like there was an awesome, like the lady that actually started out before anybody from our community ever even like thought about going up was this Hindu woman. She like stood up and was like, listen, like there's a lot going on in Pakistan and India right now, and I don't ever want any situation like that to happen amongst any religious groups over here in America.
Wow.
And like there was like some people that were like, true Christians will understand that like, that theory of like what would Jesus do, the WWJD, and like that's why I made the shirt that like we have on our Alif Theory website, the WWMD, like what would our prophet, peace be upon him, do in situations like this. And all those people, all those like religious figures and historical figures, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, like anybody that you can think of that was in a position of just like of that leadership, like they would always have done the right thing. Never a thing to like try to, kick out anybody that's not from their community. They would try to just do the right thing, treating people with respect, and like no matter what their background is, just always like like treating people like human beings. And so like it shows both the good and bad, but like these situations in life are sometimes necessary just so like what it's like. I want to tell a funny story that happened recently.
What happened?
So well, there was like I want to do like a Photoshop situation of the month, which like how sometimes I get like these random horrible Photoshop requests from like either friends or random people that are just like, can you do this for me? And it's just like, what are you talking about? I'll share that one first. So like someone hit me up recently, a friend, and she was like, hey, like I have like these really great photos, and they're in like a hotel room. And she was like, can you just like, there's a Coke can sitting in the back. Can you just take out the Coke can? Like, it's really messing with my aesthetic. And she was like, I forgot how to do it. Like no, you didn't. You just want me to do it. It's fine. Just say that. Like she's acting like she knows, how to do it or whatever. And it's not hard because all you have to do is like, I'm not going to try to explain, but like, it's a very easy thing to do. Right. And, it's like this small Coke can all the way in the back of the photo. I'm like, this is what you're like, you're hitting me up about. Like, and I was like, okay, just send me the photo. I didn't even ask her, whatever. She's like, okay, but there's like 6. I'm like, no, pick one. And then she's like, okay, I guess I'll just pick 3 then from these. I'm like, okay, whatever. She sends it to me. And like, whenever something like this happens, it's bizarre from the beginning, I'm like, I'm going to mess with this person. I don't care. So first, she said she wanted to get rid of the Coke can, so I replaced it with a Pepsi can.
Oh my god!
And I sent it to her, and she was like, "LMAO, no, please, oh my god, whatever." And then she was holding like a I guess like a wine glass or whatever. So then
why is that? Okay, keep going.
Yeah. So then I was like, okay, sorry, let me try again. So then I took the Coke can out, but then I put the Coke can in her hand instead of the wine glass. And then I finally like sent her the real one. But listen, like if you're gonna send me stupid requests, not be like paying somebody for their time, whatever, then you're gonna get messed with every single time. And she's
Also,
lucky I didn't throw
guys,
this time on
download
Instagram.
Snapseed and use the hide feature.
Download any app that like there's so many apps that like will make it easier to do on your phone than even Photoshop nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just surprising. Okay, the other funny encounter. So we were at Wawa the other day, and we were like me, my brother, and Emma, our friend. We were like, let's go around like see what's going on in the town because it's like completely dead. People don't want to go outside because of
That's
Corona
the
and stuff.
person who already doesn't leave, isn't really doing anything. He's over here trying to catch Corona.
I wanted to we wanted to go see like
He's trying to search the town, like touching everything, trying to
no,
get
not
the
touching
Corona.
things. Just seeing like what's going on in the grocery stores, like see how people are
Okay,
panicking.
Mr. Journalist, I didn't know you were living up to your degree.
I wasn't like trying to go and touch people, and if there was gonna be a big crowd, I wasn't about to go there. But so it was funny because like yeah, all the grocery stores are empty and stuff. But we go to Wawa, and like there's a lady at the counter, and she goes, "Oh my God, you have such beautiful hair," and then she had a hat on, and like I could see some of her like hair coming out, or whatever, and I was like,
oh, it was a wig. Damn it.
and
It
then
was a wig.
no. I was like, oh no, like she's like, I wish I had your hair. I was like, no, you have beautiful hair too. And then she takes off her hat, and she's like, I don't have any hair. And she was all like bald here, but then she just had a little bit of like hair here, like she was most likely like a crackhead or something, because it was very like cracky hair. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
Frost.
No, I'm serious.
Cracky
It wasn't like, listen, it wasn't like, I know what you're thinking. It wasn't like cancer hair. I can tell when it's like, it was like,
Oh my God.
and she's like, she goes, I don't have any hair. And there's a whole line behind me. And I like look, and everyone like does not want to make eye contact with me. And I just grabbed my stuff, and I was like, they were waiting for their sandwiches. And I told Emma's little brother, I was like, yeah, let's go. We'll just eat outside.
Oh no.
Damn.
It was mad
Just
awkward
be-
though.
That's the problem with throwing back compliments. I feel you on that. Sometimes when you get a compliment, instead of accepting the compliment, you have to deflect and be like, oh my God, I love your thing.
I usually don't do that. I usually hate when someone's like, oh my God, you do too, whatever. But I could see some, and I was like, no, like, because it was like red. I was like, no, like you have beautiful hair too, because red hair is like cool to me. And so I would usually never do that, but I just thought that like, okay, let me like make her day or whatever. And it was very upsetting what happened. And I won't ever go to that Wawa again, I think, because if I run into her, I don't know what I would say.
Too much. You are too much.
Okay, let's close out the podcast with one more subject. And I was talking earlier about like the views that we've been getting on our videos. So like this year has been so awesome. Like especially I feel like, you know, Shamir and I talking late night like we used to, just like about the future and stuff, and just like, you know, enjoying what we're doing so much and just being excited about, you know, this whole process. It feels like we're back when we first met, like making videos back to back and whatever. And so we've been dropping so consistently and everything, but the videos have been doing horrible. Like every video is just a flop. Everything like nothing has like been as viral as like we're used to.
Yeah.
But
Try again in 2021. It's just the year. That's
no,
all.
2020 is not over. We're still like
No, listen, there's a lot happening. 2020 just like
No, I think what's like really different is that before, like, we'd have these platforms like Facebook that allow like viral growth and stuff like that, or Twitter or something like that. And Twitter hasn't really changed much, but like, you know, before, people haven't really seen this content before. And now that we're more consistent, people like know of us, have seen us or heard of us, whatever. But I think now,
granted,
yeah, they're taking us for granted. No, but
dang.
I think like we're in a different stage now where like now they're not going as viral, but we're having like a consistent like people that really care about us. And I think that's the stage we're in now, and we're gonna have to like slowly grow from here on out.
I feel like at some point within the next 2 years, I really hope that Ronald Pono becomes like the lesser thing that you guys worry about, and I really want to see you guys like thrive with like your original music. That's just my take, and I've been holding on to that opinion for a few weeks or months. That I really hope that you guys do start making music instead of like parodies and stuff, because I genuinely I genuinely enjoy the music that you guys create, and I just know that it'll pop off. And I think the parody stuff, I know that we go with it because of its like ability to go viral, but there's just so much talent that you guys have that like I know would do so well just in like you guys can compete with, you know, regular artists like
for
like,
sure. But I think I used to think that way, where I'm like, man, I can't wait to like, you know, for Ronald Pono to finally like hit so hard that we can just do our like individual stuff so much. But I've realized more and more that like this is such a big cultural thing. And like when I see somebody like Just Rain, who is somebody that I think we all look up to, you know, he never hit 1 million subscribers. He never, you know, was like as appreciated. I think he's still like an underrated person when it comes to like everybody else that's made it so big on YouTube. Like, but one thing he never sacrificed was the quality of his content. There's nobody that I can compare to like his quality of work in that niche that is doing it as good or has poured his heart out into it like as much as him. And I feel the same way about us. Like whenever like we're making stuff now, like everything is also being thought out when it comes to like the themes, all of that, like the lyrics, the audio quality.
Everything is so good. I'm not saying that to like abandon Ronald Pono by any means or really ever. I'm not saying that. I'm saying
we're excited to do both though, not just
exactly. I'm saying the duality of it. Like you guys like have a real duality, and I do hope that you guys play up your own personal selves too.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, I think I've been solo like my whole life. Like, you know, before I met these guys, like that's all I've been. So when I met these guys, for me, it's like this is the greatest feeling ever. Like in a group setting, right? And like before it was like parodies and stuff, but this year really. Like the talents that I've learned by myself that like in terms of music and stuff, I'm applying it to Ronald Pono, and we've done it like this year that you haven't heard yet. Like we've been applying these talents in like a group setting, and for me that's so much more because one, it's cultural, it's more culturally impactful. Like I'll always make solo music, but
I think that like I'm saying this because you guys have like. I think the people in Ronald Pono, like the fans themselves, would appreciate you guys like so like because I really do think that people take for granted like the quality of Ronald Pono like music in itself, and I think that once they really see you guys popping off with your regular music and be like, dang, they actually were doing this like well. It's not like some like, and again, I love Friday, sure. But like it's not just like throwing nothing out there like how they have been doing for the last few months. Like you guys put actual quality stuff out, and I just wish that it would get the recognition for it.
Yeah, it's like, you know, you never know what's gonna give you an opportunity to do something, and there has been a lot of opportunity that's came my way because of things that I like didn't even think about twice, and people have been like asking to do personal projects and all types of things, serious ventures, just based off of things that like even a little sort of taste of like what we can do with that. But like there's a lot of parody rappers, quote unquote, that like have been asked to do serious songs as well. And like I think the main thing that it comes down to for me is like the gut feeling. And it's just like I don't ever want to be doing something that like I feel like I have to conform in some way, or that like I don't feel good making. And right now it's just like I feel good as ever about making all the content that we're making, and I truly feel like you know, as long as you're being yourself and authentic in your art in every way, and you don't have to only do one thing, but everything that you're doing, you never know, like for example my personal channel, right? It gets like no views. Like it's never made to be clickbaity. It's not like, I mean, maybe there's a few videos on there that like I tried to do or whatever, but like mostly when I make like, for example, my travel videos, they take me longer than anything else. And it's like mostly I make it for my friends and I who have experienced that thing together, and it again, like, it gets like no views at all, but the feeling that it provides me and the few people that see it will appreciate it so much that like that is always something that they bring into conversation, and it has brought me opportunity because it's just a way for me to like have a creative playground. Like, let me see what I can do this time with what I have. And you again, like, you just never know what all that could bring you. But
and that's really the whole point, is that I know that you guys have unlimited creative potential, and I love seeing you guys explore it in so many ways.
Yeah. There was a tweet that I wanted to like highlight along with like this topic. And it's somebody named Scorpio Aspie. And she posted this on Twitter and says, "Sorry to continue the Instagram rant, but the app is making me so depressed. I try so hard to take good pictures, but they get absolutely no engagement, and it makes me feel completely and utterly worthless and S-word about myself because they keep changing the algorithm. I think I'm just going to give up with it altogether. It's pathetic." How do you guys feel about that tweet?
I think it's all about your perspective on, like, it's really about what you're trying to get from it. Clearly this individual is trying to get specifically the validation from the engagement of it. If you yourself just like taking good quality pictures and like just like to have a place to put them, and you know you want to do that, then that might be fulfilling enough for you. But maybe perhaps this individual is trying to go for an influencer lifestyle, or like, you know, wanting to reach a certain goal, and she or he isn't reaching that specifically, and that's frustrating them. I think it's all about what you're trying to achieve, honestly.
Yeah. I think for me, like, up until like a year ago, I had this like mindset, like, you know, if I like, let me get as much engagement, as much this and that, and it made me feel better. But I think at a certain point, I think I've matured enough where I don't really care as much about the likes. I care about the content. And if the content's amazing, I don't care how many likes it has. If it has 1 like or 100 likes, like, that's fine, as long as I felt good making it. Although I do want to see like them have good engagement and reactions to see how well my video is portrayed and viewed by the audience. But as long as the baseline is, if I have enjoyment making it, none of this shit matters.
Yeah, I think I've definitely been where she's talking about. Like, I've definitely been in that place. I think a lot of creatives in general have been in that place where it's like, you know, it is like, you want to be able to create what you want and how you want. You want to be able to post it how you want. You don't want to make things like for me personally, I don't want to have to do anything, right? But also realizing like there are, you know, like we have conversations about thumbnails a lot, don't we? Like we have conversations about captions and things like that. Like, to me, you know, that stuff, like it kind of sucks, but at the same time, it's just like, it's necessary, and that's part of the learning process. It's part of like marketing and all that. But I get what she's saying when it's just like, man, like, why can't people just like watch it, and like, why can't the engagement just be there based off of like the art, and not like I have to play by these rules in order for this to get watched. And like, that's something that I feel like a lot of people might struggle with. And it's hard. And like, another aspect that she might be talking about is just like the social pressure, and like when to use social media in general. Like, you know, for me, like when I'm in that place that she's talking about a lot, where it's just like, man, why like does my stuff not get as much engagement? It's all from comparison, and that happens from scrolling all day, right? Like sometimes like I love one of the things I like doing more than anything when it comes to art is like drawing and coming up with like illustrations and digital designs and things like that. Like, design is probably like one of my main sort of passions. I just love the feeling it gives me. I love doing it. I love creating. And I post some of it sometimes, and it doesn't do like as good as some of like the biggest accounts, I guess, that like a lot of them like are our friends and stuff, and it won't like get that same sort of energy based off of like many different factors. But I have felt that way, where it's just like sometimes I see a piece of work that somebody else might make, and it's just like it doesn't there's like not much meaning behind it. It doesn't have like a caption that's just like has some sort of story or like any sort of like social relevance or whatever. And it's just like, hey, I just made this, here you go. And it does crazy. And I'm just like, man, like, what am I doing wrong? And again, like, there's nothing that I'm doing wrong. It's how I'm perceiving social media.
Absolutely.
I need to get off of social media. And what brought me the joy of making this thing in the first place was like it was probably something that happened in my environment. It was probably a conversation that I had with somebody. It was probably that a moment in time that I decided to freeze and put it into a work of art where I was just like, this is important in my life and other people might relate to this. And I think that's what it comes down to a lot, is just like when to use and not use social media.
Yeah.
When do you guys find yourself using social media? Do you wake up and go through it? Do you go through it at night, throughout the day? How many times? Like, what's your routine like with social media usually?
Since I've been back from Hawaii, I've been like working on making like a different structure of a schedule. So I've now only used social media while I'm doing something else. Like, you know, like if I'm cooking breakfast and like I'm waiting for like my ex to do or something, or like if I need to like go respond to something, or like while I'm doing something else, but I won't use social media while I'm not doing anything else. So like I've used it as a way to kind of in the same way that I do with podcasts. Like I don't only sit there and listen to a podcast or a book. I'll do it while I'm doing something else. So I feel like I'm you know, kind of maximizing my time. And so it's kind of something where I'm using in passing. So because I'm not solely doing just that, it doesn't feel like a huge deal to me. Whereas,
how do you respond to notifications though?
Sometimes I turn all my notifications off. Like everything's off. And then other times, like if I'm having, you know, like a healthy relationship with him, there's no issue. And it's really all about where you are mentally. And I will just like, I won't click on a notification unless it's a direct message. And then when it's anything else, like I'll go through and I'll do it while I'm doing something else.
Yeah.
And even the direct messages, I usually wait while I'm doing it. But I try not to approach the app unless I'm choosing to approach it, not because it's asking me to be on there.
Yeah. I think for me, it's very weird how I've changed a little bit. So I turned off all my notifications on Instagram and Twitter. So like I just go on there when I want to go on there, and not really, oh, there's a notification, so I see it. And then also like when I go on there, I'm like looking for content and inspiration. So if I don't like somebody's content, I like immediately unfollow them. I try to keep my like feeds clean and whatnot. And so, but also like the engagement aspect, like I don't really care if my posts aren't getting as many likes or comments or whatnot, because I think I've changed my mindset in a way where like I think the Ronopono like social media means way more than my own. And like whatever I can do to fuel that is like the Ronopono social media accounts. So for me, I think that's taken a huge like weight off my shoulders, because you know, like when you're thinking about yourself, you're like, oh, if I don't post some like a good picture, they don't like how I look, or they don't like how, you know,
interesting,
or they don't like my music because I posted it on my social media. But when it's for like a group account, there's like a million factors that you're just like, oh, I don't know. So it doesn't really affect me like, you know, like that anymore. So I think it's very healthy the way I put it. Changed my mindset like that.
I think we need to stop using social media and taking it. And I mean, well, I said that wrong. I think we need to stop taking social media so personally. Like,
that's true.
Because I'm not getting likes, I'm not a beautiful person, or like because I'm not getting the engagements, I'm not like a well accepted creator. Because like I think that the validation, like literally, if you think about it, we've seen people who've put you know, little to no effort into their work and have gone viral way beyond what we can believe. And then we've seen people
that's
who
what I'm talking about. Like that sometimes it throws you off.
Yeah.
And the
like,
thing is,
what?
like, the viral game is just something that you can't, like, you know, like, the fact that we've had sometimes not even, like, Bandu, for example, something that you didn't put that much effort into and, like, went super viral versus, like...
People probably feel that way about us sometimes, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Definitely.
And that's what I'm saying. The viral game is just that. It's a game. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you can't take everything that happens on it as a person, like so personally to it. Like
Yeah.
I
who we
think
are.
I'm still figuring it out every day, like to try to beat my tendencies and like try to change the way that I think about things. And one of the main things that I started doing was like, I think like starting like a few months ago or something was just like I let the notifications be like I don't like I'll let them stack up because before it used to be like seeing that like red dot or like seeing an amount of number there like oh my god I have to catch up to this. It takes away so much from your day when like that's not your priorities. And like just listing out my priorities, like what do I have to do this week, and just focusing on that because there's nothing I have to like make a decision. There's nothing on social media or like whatever else that doesn't have to do with like an emergency or like family or whatever that is going to be more important than this list of priorities here. And so like even when it comes to texting, Instagram stuff, whatever, like I just let it stack up and run like the emails. Like I don't care if it says, you know, hundreds on there, thousands, whatever. Like I have to be comfortable with just like there's when I want to, I'm gonna go on there and catch up. But
Absolutely.
definitely like if you like I would start the day, and I still do this sometimes with just like looking at all the notifications on my phone and seeing what it all says and like catching up. And like there's nothing that I need to catch up besides with like maybe like important news or whatever. But if like you get caught up in like, you know, checking your DMs and like especially group messages and all that, like group messages, some people like they just sit in group messages and like go on about it. And I think our friends are pretty good about it. Whoever is there at the moment, they're responding or whatever, but like nobody feels like everyone has to respond or you're waiting on somebody or whatever. But there is a lot of group messages that I get added onto on both like you know, the Apple messages and like on WhatsApp especially, where it's just like I can't catch up to this.
I
Like
think
there's no way.
honestly the biggest theme I'm hearing from you right now is like control, like feeling like you're in control. And it's like you will choose to approach it when you want to. You will go to it when you're ready for it. You approach it when you want to. And I think that like that comes across, that same aspect comes across in people's lives in so many different ways. Whether it's an eating issue or whether it's, you know, when it comes to work or whatever, like and like even some of the stories that were shared on the retreat were like, I do certain things in my life because it helps me gain control. And when you feel like you're lacking in some ways, it really messes with you in other ways. So as long as you feel like you are in control of your life, I think that is when contentment will come. And it sounds like you're finding a balance with that very well.
Control your social media, control your social distancing. As fun as this is, I hope the next time we don't have to do it virtually.
Aren't we meeting up tomorrow?
I mean, sure. Like, I guess we can talk about that off the podcast.
We have a oh my gosh, look, there's a pandemic, so we're having a viral a virtual podcast. Meanwhile, like I'll see y'all tomorrow. we
have to go with the times. I think it'll be fun. But no, this was awesome.
It's like a long FaceTime.
Yeah, it was like a long FaceTime. Hopefully people can like watch this and feel like they're part of like a FaceTime session with some homies, like a Ubu session back in the day. But
I feel like
they're on mute.
That's what people always say about the podcast, anyways. That they feel like they're listening into like a conversation, or like they're like a part of a group of friends and having a conversation. So now you get to FaceTime with us too.
And I'm glad people like keep us on our toes, because people always ask, you know, like, hey, no podcast this week, what happened? So I'm glad that there's like people that are like, you know, stay up to date with us and everything. And I hope like there was some good, some bad and some ugly that you got out of this podcast, whatever it might be. Please respond to us on social media, at Strange Flavors Everything. Write us an email if there's something that you want to put out there into the world, or if you have a question, or if you want to share your music or somebody that you know that makes good music with us. We love you guys. And we'll see you next time. So thank you for listening to another episode of Strange Flavors. It's been another week.
Another flavor.
A little less stranger.
We'll see you not virtually next time. All right. Peace.
Bad little Heine got a booty like a taco. One night stand, she get edit with a mouthful. 10 toes down with the crew. Been the G since the won't go beats like me, bitch. Who? Ooh, bounce.